The outskirts of Bangkok, Thailand's capital city, like most outskirts, doesn't paint a pretty picture. Wherever you look, people are cooking. Who comes here, along the tracks, to buy food? Finally, we arrive at Bangkok Station. We're off to our hotel and then catch the SkyTrain, their elevated rapid transport system, commonly known as the BTS, into the city. Yes, the traffic is bad here. Waiting for the shopping complex to open. And it's very upmarket and expensive. Now we're off to Chinatown. And once again, it's predominantly food, wherever you look. Duck's feet, prawns. Most of these shops seem to have these small shrines at the back. The entrance to an hotel. I was intrigued by the gold leaf covering these statues. We visited the temple of Wat Po, which houses the reclining Buddha, covered in gold leaf, and it's nearly the length of half a rugby field. The feet alone are 5 meters long and are exquisitely decorated in mother of pearl. Just look at the detail in his pillows. And now to the Grand Palace, which was the official residence for the kings of Siam and is regarded as the most sacred Buddhist temple in Thailand. It's made up of numerous buildings, halls, and pavilions, one of which houses the temple of the Emerald Buddha. Just look at the mosaics and craftsmanship in these figures and buildings. The Temple of the Emerald Buddha. The Buddha holds tremendous religious and cultural significance in Thailand. This model of the Angkor Wat Temple was commissioned by Rama IV at about the time that half of Cambodia was a vassal state of Siam, and the king wanted to show his people the grandeur that was under Thai rule. Then it was back to the city by a water taxi. That evening, we visited the Patpong Night Bazaar, where I bought a new watch, which lasted just 7 hours. And Lee shopped for skirts, while I checked out the girly bars. And then we spotted the beer garden, a fantastic hub of basic Bangkok nightlife, complete with hawkers. We pass salt lakes on the way to Kanchanaburi and the River Kwai, and stop off at Thailand's most famous floating market, Damnun Sadak. It's actually a man-made canal built over 100 years ago, connecting 2 rivers. Today, it's essentially a floating souvenir stand, filled with packaged tourists. Strangely enough though, the majority of them are Thai. The vendors are mostly local peasants that bring their wares to sell from their boats and the stalls that line the sides of the canals. A wide variety of tropical fruits, vegetables, and many colorful homemade products are available. You can't get away from it. They even cook on the boats. Floating takeaways. On to Kanchanaburi, and we come across these people making sugar from coconuts. They take the flour and cut it open. See the young coconuts inside? They drain the juices into these bamboo containers. They use the husks of the coconuts to fuel the fires. The wicker baskets prevent the syrupy liquid from foaming too much. As the water evaporates, it starts to transform into a thick syrup-like substance known as a toddy. Once it's been reduced, they put the wok onto an old car tire and drag it away from the fire. They cool it down with some vigorous stirring with a big whisk thingy until it's very gloopy. It tends to thicken even further. Then they spool it into molds covered with cloth so that the syrup doesn't stick. Tasters for the onlookers. It tastes just like fudge. They say it cost one life for every sleeper. The Death Railway. Over 400 miles long, built through impenetrable jungles and mountains between Burma and Thailand, taking 1.5 years to complete. The cost? Nearly 100,000 lives. The Japanese forced their mostly disease-ridden prisoners to work up to 18 hours a day in unbearable heat, submitting them to constant beatings. We walked along a section of the track to Hellfire Pass, so named, as they say when viewed at night. With the oil lamps burning and flickering, it resembled the jaws of hell. 69 men were beaten to death in the 6 weeks it took to build, and many more died of various diseases. Walking through the pass, one can feel a huge affinity with those who labored and died here. The cemetery in Kanchanaburi is a sad reminder of those terrible times. Part of the Death Railway is still in use. We caught the train at Nam Tok Station and travelled on a section of it. From time to time, you get beautiful views of the river, which sort of belies the horrors gone before. The line still crosses some of the bridges they built. Of course, the most famous of these bridges is the one over the River Kwai. In actual fact, 2 bridges were built, a steel one and a wooden one. Both bombed during the war and both repaired using POWs. We had a delightful lunch that day on this restaurant below the bridge. It was a special moment and very difficult to picture what the scene must have been like nearly 80 years ago. Deep in the jungle, floating on the river and surrounded by mountains, is the River Kwai Jungle Rafts Hotel. The only way to get there is by boat. And it was late afternoon when we set off up the river through the cliffs. Very beautiful and calming after the emotions of the day. Oh man, this place looks awesome. I must tell you that they have no electricity here, and the temperature was over 40 degrees and very humid. We checked out our accommodation. No air conditioning, of course. The walls were weaved with local bamboo, and there was a bathroom en suite. These safety regulations stated, in the event of fire, just jump in the river. It was hot. This was our own private deck, complete with lounges and flower boxes. The view was like something out of a movie. Then it was to the pub for a not-so-cold beer. The dining room, what a setting. Darkness was approaching. The glowing and flickering light from the kerosene lanterns brought a romantic atmosphere to this true eco-hideaway. The next morning, we were awoken by these young ladies watering the plants. No shortage of water here. I staggered out to the little back balcony in the heat and, imagine my surprise, 2 elephants having their morning wash.
Oh, I'm enjoying that.
Sadly, it was time to head back to Bangkok and end our visit to Thailand.